Welcome to the Jennifer Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Awesome, and I'm so glad that you're here. This podcast is all about meaningful conversations that challenge the way we think, inspire the way we lead, and remind us of the power of human connection. Each episode features educators, leaders, change makers, entrepreneurs, advocates, and everyday people who are making a difference in their communities and creating lasting impact. We'll explore leadership, belonging, education, personal growth, resilience, innovation, and the stories that shape who we become. My hope is that every conversation leaves you with practical ideas, fresh perspectives, and the courage to take your next step towards becoming the person you're called to be. Whether you're leading a classroom, a business, a nonprofit, or simply striving to make a difference in the lives of those around you, you're in the right place. So grab a notebook, take a deep breath, and join us as we learn, grow, and build a world where connection comes before compliance, belonging fuels success, and ordinary people create extraordinary change. Let's dive in. And thank you for tuning in to the Jennifer Awesome Podcast. My name is Jenni Awesome, and we have a phenomenal guest on here today. Today's guest is Nathan Baws, a serial entrepreneur, Shark Tank Australia alumnus, a Guinness World Record holder, and a passionate advocate for transforming education through entrepreneurship. After building 19 businesses and experiencing both remarkable successes and significant failures, Nathan now brings those real-world lessons directly into schools through his high-energy school Shark Tank incursions. His mission is to help students develop the creativity, resilience, confidence, and problem-solving skills that they'll need to thrive in a future shaped by artificial intelligence and constant change. Please join me in welcoming Nathan Baws.
Hi, Jenni. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about yourself. You have done quite the things, man.
Yeah, there's a few things on the cards there. Been involved in a lot of different businesses. I just really enjoy the space. I love businesses of all sorts, and I just find the whole entrepreneurship thing so much fun. So there seems to be a lot of problems out there in the world that we're in, and businesses are a phenomenal way of providing solutions to those problems and be commercially rewarded for that process. And particularly with kids, I love being in that space where I open their eyes to entrepreneurship, because I guess the pathways of schools are quite static. Most of them, learn, get a job, get out there in the workplace. So there's a lot of other options out there, and with the way the world's going and the AI, a lot of the jobs aren't going to be there. So we have to think a little bit differently now.
Right. So, what got you into the entrepreneur type of mindset? Like, have you always been this way? Did you have a mind shift, or what got you to this space?
Probably necessity more than anything. And from 6 years old, I realized that I didn't want to be eating potatoes every night, which we were doing. And, with a very limited resources at that age, from a sole parent, we didn't have much money. So at 6, it was just like, well, what are my choices? What can I do? And you can't get a job at that age, and you don't really know anything about making money. As a matter of fact, at 6, I went into my first business, which was in the aviation business, giving Richard Branson a run for his money by making paper aeroplanes and trying to sell those. As it panned out, there wasn't any money in that one. So, but it was a great stepping stone to understand that perhaps you could sell something and make money, and that could be a solution for, your financial status and where we didn't want to be anymore. So that was the motivation.
So paper airplanes, did you have like a favorite model that you like to build? So I'll say when I taught science and math, that was one of my favorite things to do in seventh grade science is have kids try out all different paper airplanes and fly them and see what happens. So do you have a favorite model?
Well, it was part of the business concept was that what we thought, and I remember I was 6, I was at my cousin's farm. I was staying there for a week, and it was all about. I was excited to be there because first of all, I really loved hanging out with my cousin, and second of all, I didn't have to eat potatoes for a week, so it was two wins there. And we just thought, well, maybe we need to do something that we know how to do in business. So we knew how to make paper airplanes. That was about all we knew at 6 years old, and we thought that would be commercially viable to sell those. So, and we figured if we made different sizes and different coloured ones and different shaped ones, we had a few little concepts that we knew how to make. We thought that perhaps that would interest the customers further, and we'd be able to say upsell from a small aeroplane to a bigger piece of paper aeroplane. And it didn't actually pan out that way, but that was the thinking at that stage. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like I just went to a conference and one of the professors was talking about how he uses AI and requires his students to use AI. But the thing that really connected with me was he was grading students on their prompting in AI. So what is that
Right.
thought process? So you're talking about what is that thought process of an entrepreneur where you see a need or a possibility and then you go from there and you build that model.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I always say the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask.
Yeah.
And, that's all about prompting. In AI, that's very much related to the quality of the output is determined by the quality of the input. And AI is just a perfect example of that. And it actually has been really good getting into AI because I just feel the way it makes you think is great. The questions that come out of generating information out of AI is a really good logical way to think because I think a lot of people just go through life with blinkers on and they just follow the next step. Whereas if you just pull back, you can get and ask better questions, you can always get better solutions, better outcomes. So yeah.
Right. I find it fascinating to see how other people use AI or they post something silly on Facebook and this was their questioning. And then I go build my questioning off of their modeling of how they question and just how it generates different answers. So, like you said,
Brilliant.
the questioning really depends on what we're going to get from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, AI is getting so good now that you can even have pretty bad questions and it still gives you good outputs. It seems to be able to read your mind. It understands what you're trying to get to a lot of the time, but there's no question that you improve that asking process in AI and in life, and you can get a lot better outcomes rather than just following the traditional way of doing things.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about you starting as a 6-year old and building paper airplanes. Like, give us a synopsis of what have you done since then? Tell us a bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, after that little exposure to business that didn't happen, that didn't generate any funds, I realised that I still wanted. I was very keen. I was hooked just on the process. So after that, I remember we used to go to this some sort of a church at a very young age, and it was we got to help out in the secondhand clothing shop there, and that was just absolutely fantastic. We were hooked there, my sister and I, and we got to sell stuff, old clothes and whatever, and take money for it. It was just like playing shops as a kid. So that
Hmm.
was really fun. And then my first real business that actually made me money was I bought some earthworms because I was at 14, bought a ice cream tub of earthworms and I decided to breed these earthworms and they bred prolifically.
Hmm.
So I thought, wow, there's a business opportunity here. Why don't I continue to breed them and then sell them? So I got I hunted around, found all the books I could on earthworms, which back then I think there was only two books on the planet about earthworms, and I studied it really hard, and I learned everything about earthworms to the stage where I actually even tried. I wanted to know everything, so I actually ate one, and it was all about I need to know everything about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So which I tend to do a little bit excessively sometimes. And then, so I studied it up, and then I gave a presentation to a permaculture show, and I was teaching all these 70-year-old, super experienced gardeners who had been gardening for 50 years, how they should introduce earthworms to their garden. They should definitely buy some off me,
Yeah,
and
makes
that was
sense.
really good because I ended up selling tubs and tubs of these earthworms, $20 each, and I thought, wow, I've made it. So, so that was where I started. That was my first money making one, and then I did a couple of jobs after then, and I realised that that was great training, but I really wanted to be in business. So I started at a market, doing a little stall at a farm, at a weekend market. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, I built a couple of health shops. I built a vitamin supplement range that I sold across Australia. I set up weight loss clinics, 8 weight loss clinics, because I was studied naturopathy. Then I went and did a whole bunch of property in the UK. Then I came back to Australia, opened up 3 restaurants, created a range of foods that we now sell in supermarkets throughout Perth.
Mm-hmm.
Built a
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeping business because I was really disillusioned with the bookkeeping services that I was getting from my businesses. I just thought the accounting and the accountants and the bookkeepers just were not giving me what I really wanted, and I was
Mm-hmm.
craving help on growth, on business growth, because I love growing businesses. That's my favorite part. And I just figured I've had so many bookkeepers, so many accountants, and they've all done a very, very average job. I thought, stuff it, I'll build the business myself. So I created a bookkeeping firm, which we now help clients in Australia and the US, and we do their bookkeeping, but we do it with business growth layered in. So, we're
Yeah.
holding them accountable and teaching them how to grow businesses and how to get more leads and how to generate more sales and negotiate. Everything I've ever wanted that wasn't there, I've sort of brought together, and obviously that's a great way of running a business, is just finding a need and
Mm-hmm.
providing that. Also been involved in weight loss programs in Bali. I've set up a couple of hotels over there with weight loss programs, and we're currently launching something called Flair School, which is financial literacy and advanced real world education for school kids, which is
Oh,
what
wonderful.
yeah, that's what I wanted when I was 6 and had no idea about making money.
Yeah.
So now we teach kids how to all about financial literacy and how the entrepreneurship side of things. So that's a little
That's
synopsis.
wonderful. Yeah,
Mm.
I love how you've taken and anything that you're interested in, you
Mm.
take that and immediately start applying it into how do I share this with other people? And
Yeah.
you're going through that whole process of learning to teaching while you're doing the entrepreneurship, which I absolutely love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a process. I, never profess to be amazing at anything. It's just a learning journey, and then we share what we're learning at the time, if it can help some people. And
Hmm.
I do a lot of joint ventures with people who are really good at stuff. Like I'm not really good at bookkeeping, but my team is phenomenal at bookkeeping. So I think my main skill is growing businesses. So that's the little bit that I bring to that business. So
Hmm.
we all come together and unite and bring our passions. And I think passion's something that's just totally lacking from the planet.
Yeah.
And people are just going through on tunnel vision and just almost in a zombie-like state. And it's really hard. I get very upset when I have to deal with businesses that have no passion, that
Hmm.
don't bring in excitement. They look like they don't want to be there, and you're paying people for services that are begrudgingly providing these services. So Yeah, I think there just needs to be a whole lot more passion in people finding their purpose and
Yeah.
executing on that.
And I would say that our school systems are not the best avenue to ignite those passions in people. There's a lot of, you will do this, you will fit in this
Right.
box. There is a right way, there is a wrong way, and it's not allowing for kids, families, the next level of our society to ignite that passion. And so finding ways to ignite that passion in college, or even if you don't go to college, in the trades outside of school, recognizing that there are many ways to solve a problem. Just go find another way to solve it.
Yeah, and as I say, there's no shortage of problems out there,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, business is a phenomenal solution for that. If we didn't have businesses, if we weren't financially rewarded, it'd be very hard to stick to problem solving in anything that you do.
Right.
You know, a lot of teachers love being teachers, but they also have to pay the bills. So,
Yes, they do.
um,
Yeah.
you know, it's a question of finding something, getting reward. We have to be commercially rewarded to stick to it, to bring any scale to anything that we're doing. Otherwise, it'll just be, you know, if you were a teacher, it would just be teaching once a week, and then you'd have to go and do the job, whatever your job was that you were paid for. So it's
Yeah.
clear that, yeah, that commercial side of it is absolutely essential.
So
Mm.
have you taken what you've learned through entrepreneurship? How do you share that with others? How do you ignite that in them and grow those businesses, or teach entrepreneurship to others?
After doing Shark Tank on in Australia, then there was obviously some good visibility behind that
Hmm.
on the TV, and that was quite a few years ago. That was when TV was the main source of uh, communication, you know, but really
Yeah.
before the craziness that's happened with social media.
Hmm.
So, you know, and like in business, the visibility and the way you broadcast these days is so there's so much advertising out there. You know, they reckon we see anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 messages every day. So there's a lot of competition for our attention.
Hmm.
But back then, TV was the main thing. So um, it was a lot more narrow, the attention focus. So that was really good for the visibility side. And off the back of that, a lot of kids love Shark Tank, and a lot of kids are taught that at school. At least that's some part of the entrepreneurial exposure that kids get at school. Is they, I don't know, you're in the US, right, Jenny?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in Australia, we, yeah, a lot of the schools will just, that will be their exposure to entrepreneurship, will be, okay, kids, write, you know, create a business and present it in class. So because there's
Hmm.
that aspect, then I reach out to schools and say, hey guys, would you like me to come and have a chat to your kids about entrepreneurship? And I love it. I get excited
Yeah.
about it. And I try and just teach kids or expose them to that level of passion and something different, that there's another pathway other than just, you know, go and get a job, and that it can bring massive value to the society. We can be solving problems. And so, yeah, I'll get out and teach kids about entrepreneurship, the real side of it, you know, the tough stuff that you have to go through, as well as the rewarding stuff,
Yeah.
because it's not always a smooth ride, and they have to know that, and have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there a human skill that you think is going to become even more valuable in the next decade?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, definitely along the lines of entrepreneurship, because as we say, as AI becomes more prolific, AI is fantastic. The challenges with it is that it creates a lot of trust issues. People are a lot more skeptical about what is real and what isn't real. You know, you had
Hmm.
the situations where all these fake entrepreneurs would hire a Lamborghini for the day and take lots of photos, right, next to the nice car and the nice lifestyle. Well, with AI, you don't even need that anymore. You can just create an image of you next to a Ferrari or whatever. So there's a lot of people are questioning what's real and what's not anymore. So you
Mm-hmm.
have that whole issue with trust. And I think whatever allows you to create trust now is more necessary than ever. So that's actually why I really enjoy joint ventures, because it's a way of dealing with this AI world that we're in. And it's a way of tapping into little trust centers or hubs that already exist and sharing that trust. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when you collaborate with someone, you might go into a business that has lots of customers around it. Well, those customers already have the trust that they've created that relationship with a business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a customer of that business. And
Yeah.
joint ventures are all about hooking into that trust that already exists and sharing that trust. And that's one of the ways that we can overcome AI as the problem that it creates, the trust element. And also, as we expand, as we find those jobs aren't available with AI replacement, then thinking like an entrepreneur is going to become more and more essential as we go than ever. We
Mm-hmm.
need to have that mindset that we're talking about before, Jenni, where you are good at questioning things, and we need to have that ability to say, okay, what if this job isn't there? What else can we do? Well,
Right.
where are the opportunities? And asking yourself the right questions, because you'll get the right answers. So having an entrepreneur mindset is all about being solution focused, where we can come up with great solutions to problems as we go. And problems will never go away, but we need to be more and more adaptive and creative and skilled to be able to solve whatever the problems are out there in the world. So
Yeah.
that's important.
What I'm noticing, what I'm recognizing in education is, our system, especially in America, was very information driven because information wasn't available in homes. And now that information is everywhere, I mean, we're inundated with information all the time, as you were saying.
Yeah.
We get to provide opportunities for kids, for whoever's in school, to experience education in a different way. Maybe it's community based, maybe it's through project based learning, but teaching them the problem solving and even giving them a hammer, giving them a fishing pole, giving them opportunities to try things that they don't have access to in their normal daily lives.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we've got to expose them to more things, and I guess all those sort of like the hammer and the trade sides of things seem to be, they think that'll be those sort of jobs will be more insulated for longer.
Hmm.
So it's a good thing to do those practical skills. Absolutely, with AI
So
looming.
So I want to talk about mindset for a second. So you're talking about the you love growing businesses, you're seeing these problems, you're going into schools and helping kids to uh, get those entrepreneurial thoughts going. Do you have like a favorite aha moment, or what is it like when you see that light bulb click and you see people start moving forward with that mindset shift?
Yeah, I think there seems to be lots of them, and I think with kids you have to just bring that entertainment level right up to open to drop the barriers. I mean, there's definitely a lot less barriers in kids than there are in adults when it
Hmm.
comes to you know showing them new exciting things, um, and I think the fun element is just absolutely essential, and that's something I really focus on in business in general is how can we have fun while we solve a problem? Um,
Yeah.
and there's a big element actually that I focus my day on for dopamine stimulation, healthy, natural ways of stimulating more dopamine in our bodies with
Hmm.
a bit of a health background. So I love to bring that into business and obviously into educating the kids. Dopamine is a fantastic endorphin that I find very, very useful for business. And if we can tap into that, we can have a really good outcome for kids and learning and getting them excited, because it's all about, for me, business is fun. And if I can transfer a little bit of that energy to the kids, then I think we've got a win, and we'll open them up, because at a young age, that's kind of all you want to do is have fun, right?
Yeah.
That's so if we can turn a few light switches on with that sort of angle, and as I say, it doesn't have to end there. It should be in business. Oh, it should be in. Sorry, my screen has just gone blank. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think hopefully it'll come back. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Technical glitch. We're back. Yeah, so the fun side I think is essential for the whole aha moments to say business is awesome. You should get into it.
Mhm.
That side of it. Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite activity or a go-to that you use with kids or adults when you're bringing up the dopamine with the group of people?
Um, yeah. Look, I like them to laugh at my crazy challenges that I've had throughout my life.
Yeah.
I think the authentic side of it is essential, and
Hmm.
I'm not going to pretend anything that's not reality. Um, so I guess that would be part of it. The ability to laugh at ourselves is probably pretty important to um, get that message across the line.
Yeah, yeah, and it's that authenticity. You're talking about the trust building and saying,
Yeah.
I'm human. We can do great things. So one of the things that I've been learning about too is what a failure or having failed, how that plays into our growth process. So can you talk a little bit on failure and how failure is not necessarily a bad thing? Like it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. I could talk a lot about failure actually. So that's, it's all part of the journey. And there's no question that the failures have been some of the best learning processes ever, that really have fast tracked it, the progress. And, I've had situations where businesses have been just losing so much money. And for many years at a time. And then, as an entrepreneur, you think, well, hey, I'm a problem solver. I can fix anything. But sometimes part of that problem solving needs to say, all right, I just need to draw a line in the sand here. Let's get rid of that. Let's sell that. Let's close that. And let's focus our energy on stuff that's working and learn from what hasn't. The way I look at it is, you can, with any failures, you can throw your towel in, you can wave your surrender flag and curl up in a little fetal position and cry, or you can take your lessons that you've learned from that and say to yourself, okay, there's there's definitely some lessons here. How can that benefit my future business self? And there's no question I've found I've totally changed directions and got a skill set from those failed businesses that I wouldn't have got, from any other way. As a matter of fact,
Hmm.
there's one situation where I'd just come out of a really nice seven figure exit for in the health industry. Thought I was absolutely amazing. Thought I was bulletproof, and then I was taught by life that definitely wasn't the case, and went into a business where I was losing a ton of money and I didn't have the skill set I needed.
Hmm.
And but that was in the restaurants business, and that was absolutely brilliant because I learned a bunch of lessons. One of them was that don't there's other ways of growing businesses without spending a ton of money on infrastructure and buildings and fit outs and things like that, you know. And that's a question of asking yourself, well, how can I do this without doing that? So, for example, Uber Eats doesn't really have a lot of infrastructure. They don't, Uber doesn't have a lot of cars. They don't have any cars. They're just the infrastructure that puts the end user with the functionality or with the
Yeah.
cars. So there's plenty of ways, and that's why I love joint ventures so much, because other people with other assets can bring that to the equation, and I can bring my skill sets, without necessarily being capital heavy. So there's great solutions that you come up with from failure if you
Yeah.
are open to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you could redesign education today, what would be the first thing that you change?
Well, this is exactly what we're working on with Flair School, and we've just introduced it to a school here in Perth, which, by the way, I've done it as a joint venture with a headmaster. So he's done all the curriculum side, and I've done the entrepreneur side. And this is exactly what we're working on: is changing or introducing financial literacy, because there's
Hmm.
a total shortage of understanding. You just have to talk to any parent, and they'll say, look, I was spat out of the school system without any understanding about even how to use a checkbook.
Yeah.
I didn't know about mortgages. I didn't know about anything back then. So we want to introduce that understanding at a very early age. And we're actually starting at grade one, and introducing all those sorts of financial literacy, money, education around that idea, and entrepreneurship. Those two things, because if they come hand in hand, the financial literacy and the entrepreneurship, it just sets up a fantastic foundation. Because it's crazy to think that we're not taught that at a high level.
Yeah.
You know, you,
Yeah.
you might learn some super basics at school, but finances dictate. I mean, health and finances, I think, are the two biggest challenges that people have throughout their entire life. And both of them are totally under focused and under delivered. So we need to be setting, imagine what we could do if we were to bring up kids with really solid financial understanding. Imagine what that could do to the whole economy of your
Yeah.
country. Um, and to the stress. I mean, financial stress is one of the biggest stresses people will go through in life.
Yeah.
So if they're positioned from a young age and they're positioned for success, rather than try and sort it out, as you go, we're going to be so much in a much better mentally healthier state,
Hmm.
physically healthier, if we can bring in the health side more as well. It's just the basic foundations that we should be educated in. Instead, we're educated in so many things that, people always say, oh, yeah, when are you going to need algebra, or when are you going to need, you know,
Yeah.
why are we being taught stuff that really we don't necessarily need to know? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be occasions now and again, but finances, come on. This is a key component of everyone's life every day that
Yeah.
they're on the planet.
Yeah.
It needs to
Our
happen.
finances, the way we take care of ourselves, like those are the main things. And
Yeah.
I was talking to a lady the other day about how our education system focuses on more on what we are able to do than who we are by the time we graduate and go out into the real world. And so I hear you saying, focusing on some of those key skills that's going to set us up for who we're going to be in the future. And
Right.
the mindset of an entrepreneur, someone who understands solidly financial literacy and physical health and well-being, like that's a huge shift in our culture.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah. It just makes you ask the question, why? Why hasn't it happened already? It's just
Yeah.
mind blowing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there to help a lot of people in that field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? I want to know, what does financial literacy and entrepreneurship look like in a really little kiddo, like a first grader? What does that look like?
Very basics, and loads of fun. So it's
I
it's
bet.
just all about, what is money, and playing games. There's a lot of, experiential learning, playing games, what we can do, with just the introduction. It's super basic, but um, it's a way of, I suppose, also building an attitude around money, because so many people have very strange ways of, and a lot of, I guess, negativity associated with money.
Hmm.
They think it's bad and it's evil, and there's so many different, money doesn't grow on trees, and stuff that our parents taught us about money, that aren't necessarily a healthy attitude on it. So healthy exposure, fun to it. It doesn't have to be evil. It's such a, we can. Yeah, Mother Teresa died a millionaire, so you can be the most amazing, humble, phenomenal, helpful people on the
Yes.
planet. To improve your reach, we need to be financially in a good place. You can help a lot more people with more money than you can with less money.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a one-to-one game when you don't have money, but it can become a one-to-many game when you do have it. So just building the attitude around money is really important. Exposure to money, because parents, particularly parents in a very struggling and limited resources kind of a way, don't have the education to be able to re-educate or introduce money to kids at a young
Right.
age in a healthy way that actually is productive. Their resources and their understanding of money, because they didn't have any exposure at a young age, is very sort of skewed in one direction. So giving them the opportunity, especially in areas, I feel that's going to be very useful. They're in the underfunded areas, in the regions and the schools that are very financially challenged.
Yeah.
To break out of that cycle, I think is going to be a fantastic way of helping the world,
Yeah.
helping the
And
country.
I even, what you're talking about, having that positive connection with money, I recognize that also with food you eat and being healthful, because there's a lot of people too that have that negative relationship with food, that negative relationship with money, with finances, and being
Right.
able to shift it into a positive, it makes a huge difference. And you're right, we
It
need to be
does.
taught how to do that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, when it comes to food, we're being taught by convenience. We're being taught by McDonald's,
Yeah.
and because it's there and it's easy and it's fun. That element
Hmm.
of fun that we're trying to bring into schools is all about. McDonald's knows it better than anyone. The playgrounds in the McDonald's
And the
restaurants,
toys.
and toys and music and lighting, and I mean they're absolute masters at it. Same with Coca-Cola and companies like that, and you often see them actually collaborating. That's the biggest
Hmm.
joint venture that's ever hit the planet is McDonald's and Coca-Cola, and for years they very successfully collaborated, and it was all about selling burgers and preventing people from buying water. When
Yeah.
they ordered a burger. So yeah, we need to give people better foundations to in the health side, and as well as the finances in a big way.
Yeah. So if there's a teacher listening and they wanted to bring more entrepreneurial thinking into their classroom tomorrow, where would you recommend that they start?
Yeah, the I mean, Shark Tank's a fun way of getting kids engaged and just
Hmm.
opening their exposure and their mindset to business, and just running a little Shark Tank. With Flair School, what we do is we've started teaching the financial literacy basics, and then we'll do a bit of a Shark Tank. So we put those basics into the business creation, and we do a sort of a dry run in the business. They get up and they learn presentation skills. They work in teams to create that lead, that team building, and then they do the presentations for the leadership side. And then we'll run a little market, a little school market, where they can actually take what they've learnt and put it into real practice, and have a go at selling and sales and negotiation and communication. So all those things can be fantastic for schools to implement and have a little bit of fun with. And the kids, I mean, they go nuts with it. They have so much
Yeah.
fun with it. Um, and it just exposes them to a fantastic way of, wow, I made money for the effort that I made to make that little bit of jewelry or make that cupcake, and someone paid me money for it. This is fantastic. So definitely opens their horizons. And if anyone wants a hand with it, we're soft launching the Flair School without any costs, so we're not charging for it, just to get feedback. So always happy to work with with schools and teachers to implement the the basics to get started.
That's amazing. I can just imagine kind of a like a carnival atmosphere too of the kids showing off their businesses to their peers, to parents, to community and you know, getting paid for it. Like that's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's so much fun, and it's such a great community builder because if a school really wants to increase their engagement, the parents get involved, the newspapers get involved, the kids
Mhm.
get involved, the teachers, everyone is just there to really encourage that that entrepreneurial side, and it's such fun. Everyone loves it, so it comes off really, really well.
So do you have any books or podcasts or anything that you would recommend for somebody who wants to learn more about entrepreneurial mindsets and how to really embody that entrepreneurial skill?
I could recommend the book that I wrote.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book. Well, I didn't write a book. I wrote a chapter with an amazing guy called Tony Robbins. You may have heard of Tony Robbins
Yeah.
and Brian Tracy. Um, and my chapter was just on business growth and how to use dopamine in business to grow businesses. So that's cool. But there's lots of good stuff. I mean, YouTube is a phenomenal place just to get education on everything, and I do spend a fair bit of time because you can always be learning. There's so much stuff, good stuff, and when you're busy, I do find it quite challenging to read a book these days. Dare I say it? But with an audio book or whatever, you can
Hmm.
do 10,000 things, and you can continue to broaden your education. So yeah, there's lots of resources at our fingertips now. It's great.
And I want to know, how did you become a Guinness World Record holder? Like what, how did that come about?
But all related to business. Everything I do, I love to have a little angle, improve something
Hmm.
that can give me an edge in business. So we actually set the Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest ice bath in the world, and ice baths are really just an extension of what I do every day. I go down to the beach, whether it's summer or winter, freezing
Hmm.
or hot, and jump into the ocean. And it's a fantastic way to start your day because it's the dopamine that's stimulated. Your dopamine levels go up to about 234%
Hmm.
with an increase. And it's a brilliant way to start your day. It puts you in an amazing zone. It's very hard to be stressed when you're freezing your backside off.
Yeah.
And so it's a great pattern interrupt for that sort of thing. And dopamine is just brilliant. I mean, that's why that was just a, a flow-on effect of the focus that I work on with dopamine and teaching people to use more dopamine. It's a great um, chemical, natural chemical that your body uses. It's brilliant for business. It increases your awareness, it increases your focus, and it increases your passion, which is yeah
Hmm.
everything as far as my world goes. So that's what I did that originally for.
So you decided to have the biggest ice bath to have that edge of saying you're a Guinness World Record holder, huh? That's
Yeah, well, yeah, it was just a natural flow on. It's just part of what I do to focus on that dopamine
yeah.
and for business, and same with health. That's why I love health so much. And that's why I'm very very disciplined with my diets. I haven't drunk alcohol for years. I don't eat any sugar. I pretty much eat a ketogenic diet, and
Hmm.
and it's just business edge that it gives me. So I've fasted for 24 hours yesterday, just to give that everything that I do. I mean, they have good benefits, but why not utilize all the tools in our toolbox
Yeah.
for business outcomes, for improving our focus and concentration and energy and things like that. That's how I see it. It's just another edge. Yeah.
That is amazing. I made it 21 hours yesterday and I'm slowly working up. So I did 21
Oh, well done.
yesterday. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm
Oh, that's
learning
good.
all about that as well.
Excellent. Well, if you keep your fat content really high, healthy fats,
Hmm.
it allows you to push that length further and further without feeling like, cravings and hungry and faint. So if you
Yeah.
increase your fats, like, your fish and your avocados and nuts and seeds, they're fantastic to get that edge as well.
All right. I will add a few more of those into my meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So
Excellent.
we're getting close on time, and I just want to make sure, is there anything else you'd like to discuss? Anything else you want to cover or share about being an entrepreneur or entrepreneur mindsets or what you see for our future?
Yeah, I think we covered a good bit of ground there. Just I think as far as the passion goes, if you focus on that, there's going to be. I always think passion first and then purpose. There's a lot of talk around finding your purpose in life,
Hmm.
but I always think if we can find our passion first, then our purpose comes off the back end of that because we want to be doing something we absolutely love, enjoy,
Hmm.
and sharing with the rest of the world. That passion is absolutely essential. It'll give us the purpose will pop up once we've created that passion, and it'll come into your consciousness a lot easier,
Yeah.
and it'll allow you to stick to whatever it is delivering that purpose if you love what you're doing. But you've got to find what you love first before any of the rest unveils. So yeah, that would be my little last takeaway tip.
Yeah, and it also sounds like, so what I've heard you say is that you may have one passion today, a different passion a couple years down the road, and that's okay because as we learn and grow, our passions, our purpose, our interests in life change as well, and there's nothing wrong with that.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We don't have to be stuck in the one pattern our whole life, unless we're loving it. If
Mhm.
you grow bored of it, and then it's very hard to deliver any value. We've got to be in that value giving phase all the time. If
Mhm.
we have the passion, it just helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Nathan,
yeah.
thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. It was a true honor to have a conversation with you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me. Been a
All right.
pleasure.
And we'll join you next time on the Jenny Awesome podcast.